Hey, GW coming to you live. Have some time off, so I'm not back at work. So if anybody wants to make sure I'm still alive, I'm still here, still kicking. And on that note, tonight is New Year's Eve, and I would like to wish everybody a very, very happy New Year. A lot of people I've met this year, a lot of people have been checking out my videos. A lot of people are pretty down to earth, and I love a lot of you guys. All my supporters. Even when Dawn and I go out, I mean, the waitresses, like we usually eat at Eaton Park and stuff, they've been really awesome this year. I've met a couple cool people. Meg, you know who you are. Um, just in general, I mean, people were pretty awesome this year to us. And I actually, thanked one of my bosses on Christmas Eve, a person I work with, and you know, I said, hey, you make me a better person. And I think the reason being is because everybody that I'm with or that's cool, I take things away from them. And I sometimes, use their mannerisms. And then you don't know you do it, but you do it and it's pretty cool. And you just feel better because those people were in your life. So, and this year, guys, work, it's been a little bit tumultuous. It's been a little bit crazy. Personally, we've had a lot of things happen. We've been to a couple of funerals, my grandma's included, and the family is still pretty much trying to pull through, and heal up. It's been a very kind of crazy, chaotic, tragic year for us. And again, the people that were at the forefront who basically, supported me through this year, got me through, kicked my tail, straightened me out. I mean, those are the people I got to give it up to right now because they rock. But being this is New Year's Eve, I hope everybody, maintains being safe or tries to avoid any kind of, messing up, I should say. Because this is the year, guys, where, it usually has the most DUIs, the most arrests, the most fights, everything else. But it also has one of the most amazing celebrations, with one year turning into the next. So on that note, I dug out a horror film I've been waiting to watch. You guessed it, New Year's Evil. So I bought this a while ago. Actually, my wife bought it a while ago. And I've been really hesitant, and I might have put it on the shelf and forgot about it. But I knew I had it this morning and just like, oh, I got that. So let's go watch it. So for the first time, I popped it in. And a couple of things about this film, if you haven't seen it, it was released in 1980. And you could tell because the theme, one of the themes in the movie is new wave music, which, Flock of Seagulls, Wham, etc., etc. Well, maybe not so much Wham, but the new wave punk scene was just sort of in its final days in the 1980s. I know it continued throughout the 1980s, maybe stopped in 89, whatever. But this is a unique story, and you kind of have to pay attention to it. It's a very short, brisk movie. It's about, I don't know, 1 hour and 25 minutes. It was produced by the Cannon Group, and Cannon Group kind of went out of business because I think they went bankrupt, actually. They made things like Enter the Ninja, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Delta Force. I think they made that. Missing in Action, maybe. One of those Chuck Norris movies. But they were notorious for the American Ninja series. They made other stuff too. King Solomon's Mines, et cetera, et cetera. Alan Quartermain in The Lost City of Gold with Richard Chamberlain, and he was in King Solomon's Mines. Both very good adventure films, but just never got the popularity that they deserved. So anyway, there's also another horror film, I believe, that deals with New Year's Eve. I think there's a lot of them. There's Bloody New Year, which is a very, very weird sort of movie. It's about It's about a New Year's Eve celebration. People go to a hotel and all this crazy stuff starts happening, and it happens in the middle of summer, but it's all dressed up as Christmas, if I remember the movie right. Very strange, very offbeat, but very cool sort of idea for a horror film. Terror Train with Jamie Lee Curtis was another one. I believe they have a New Year's Eve celebration on a train, and much like this movie, a slasher shows up and starts taking out people left and right before midnight. I have not watched that film in its entirety, so I I don't know how to comment on that. But yeah, there's a lot of films like that. But this one, like I said, it's filmed in 1980, or it was released in 1980 by the Glen Cannon Corporation, and it deals with a quote unquote quote queen of punk rock. Her name is Roz in the movie, and she's or Diane. Her name is Roz Kelly, the actress that plays her is Roz Kelly. She plays Diane, and she hosts a new wave program, showcasing all the new wave bands. Well, what happens in the film is that she gets a caller who says he's going to murder somebody in at midnight in each one of the time zones. And eventually he finds his way to her. That's what the movie's about, is her trying to figure out who the caller is, surviving, and watching her friends get slashed. Now, you can tell this was an 80s movie because not only of the outfits and the music, but also the camera work. There's camera work in the conclusion of this film that you will not see in current movies. And I love that camera work. Like, it's that first person, where you walk down the stairs. Now they just show camera and the dude going down the stairs. So you miss that first person deal. Roz Kelly actually appeared on Happy Days. Fun fact. Kip Niven, I believe, plays... I don't know. But Kip Niven, he's also in the movie, and if you guys watch Magnum Force with Clint Eastwood, you might recognize him. Grant Kramer, he was in a comedy movie called Hard Bodies, which was a sexploitation flick from the 80s. Louisa Mortz, she was in Death Race 2000. So you have a couple of B-movie actors here. So you have a couple of actors who've been on some pretty cool stuff, but I think they're B-level in nature. This was directed by Emmett Alston, and I don't believe I've ever seen any more of his movies. I believe, too, that this one, the story was pretty good. The killer, you can probably pick up, if you watch a lot of these, would I consider this a horror film? Not really. I would consider it a nail-biter thriller. There is some cool elements in here where the killer actually gets entangled with a bunch of Hell's Angels or motorbike gangs, or a motorbike gang, I should say. And there's this cool thing about a drive-in theater where he goes to hide, the bikers come right in, and I thought it was a pretty neat sequence. They could have done a lot more with that, but I think, again, being rushed out, and knowing Canon Films, they just wanted to push things out fast as they can, and that's what caused them to eventually decline, was that they rushed things out that they thought were good. The American public didn't think it was good. This was actually an okay film, I'm not going to lie, but I would not consider this a horror film. I would consider it a serial killer slasher crime film type deal. Let's see. There is, I do not believe, and I just watched this, I do not believe there is any profanity in the movie. I think the movie was rated R in 1980, probably a PG-13 by today's standards. I believe that there is one scene that a few scenes that push the R rating. One is the aftermath of the murders. You really don't see any murders committed on screen. You just see the very before and the after effects. The camera does not cut, like if a dude cuts a throat of a victim, you don't see it. You see the knife blade, you see him being pulled behind a shower curtain or something like that, and you see the after effect, the dead body when it's discovered. A lot of the murders are like that. Um, and I don't know why. I think they could have, maybe the MPAA got a hand in that and saying, hey, we can't show this. Friday the 13th, showed a lot more. So did a lot of other slashers in the 80s. Maybe that's why. But again, Canon Films maybe not have thought that through, but it would have made it more appealing. I believe there's probably a lot of stuff on the cutting room floor that the MPA didn't like about this movie. There is not much of nudity, but there's a half topless woman in there. Um, as far as that goes, it's more nail biting than anything. The killer, I will say this because I do not want to spoil who it is for you if you guys want to watch this. You could probably find this free movie on YouTube, actually. He has a motivation. He's not a monster. Like, he's not Freddy or he's not Jason or he's not like the maniac cop guy. He's a guy that's just been pushed a little too far with things in life and he wants to make a stand. The other thing about this film is that he, at some points in this movie, wears a Bob Hope mask and carrying a switchblade knife. And I think the intention for that was that, Halloween killer had a knife, the guy in Terror Train had a mask. I'm sorry, not a knife, a mask. So all these other killers had masks. So I think they just said, hey, Bob Hope. And that's what it looks like, a Bob Hope mask. I mean, call me wrong, call me crazy. Could be Richard Nixon, I'm not sure. But the two look alike, especially when you see the mask. Um, Not a bad little movie. It's a short run. There is a sequence at the end where Diane, our lead character, is tied to an elevator and she's going up and down, and the killer is manipulating the electrical board for just a little bit, and it's, I guess, for the time, audiences, clutch their seat wondering if she was going to live or die. The editing in this movie is something else entirely. Again, toward that the last conclusion of the film, they show her being chained up in the elevator. You see what happens to the killer at the end of this movie, but you do not see how they got her out, which leaves a lot of questions in my mind. The film ends open-endedly, as if they were going for a sequel, but again, maybe the lost ending was cut on the cutting room floor. It ended fine, don't get me wrong. But I just think that for people watching it, open endings were kind of iffy back in the 80s. And there are people that probably went to this and wanted closure. Does she live? Does she die? What happens to her? Don't know. Um, there is a cool song with this. They actually came up with a song, New Year's Evil. I can't think of the band. Maybe it says. Doesn't say. But you will hear New Year's Evil, the song, being played at least 6 to 7 times, maybe more in this film, as if they are promoting it. Now, being as the Canon put this out, obviously Canon went bankrupt. So Kino Lorber, who does a good job of, releasing some of these classics, actually did it in conjunction with MGM Studios. And I'm surprised Shout Factory didn't get a hand on this, but this is from Kino Lorber Classics. Again, it was just a fun movie to put on because tonight is New Year's Eve, and it kind of fit, How would I rate this? I would probably give it maybe a 7 out of 10. Like I said, if you view it as a crime film or a serial killer film, it fits more in that domain than it does an actual horror film. So that's the only reason why. And then, like I said, the editing and some of the directions this film took. And like I said, the short running time kind of leads me to believe that a lot of stuff was cut out that should have been back in, just like they did with My Bloody Valentine. The MPAA went buck nutty on that film, and now you can watch a whole slew of deleted scenes on the collector's edition, I think put out by Shout or Scream Factory, one of the two. Check it out. Not bad. The acting wasn't bad. It has a lot of new wave music, and like I said, very short on the profanity department, if any profanity at all. It has a brief glimpse of a topless woman, very cute topless woman, I might say, but it could have been fleshed out a little more. If redone today, I would think they would make this a very hard R. They would make it like the Thanksgiving movie did for that holiday, Thanksgiving, obviously. It would scare the crap out of you into a New Year's Eve party. But that's if they redo it, which I don't believe they're ever going to do. So, like I said, if you're looking for something, a brisk, sort of different, wild 80s, cheesy slasher crime film, that's what I call it. I don't see any horror elements to it. You know, I mean, obviously, if you take the slasher genre and you consider it horror, then yeah, go ahead. But this one I don't think fits. It just doesn't have some of the elements you see in like a Friday the 13th or a Halloween. It doesn't have the macabre atmosphere. But this one is also, like I said, very brisk, very, very cool runtime, so you won't be wasting too much of your time watching this. Like I said, 7 out of 10. Check it out. You could probably find it free on YouTube. And again, I want everybody to have a happy new year and be safe. And I myself, I'm not doing anything. I'm going to sit here. But again, I wanted to thank everybody throughout the year who has been cool with us, everybody that has checked my videos out, and just everybody that ever was, appreciative of everything that I did this year. Because, you do a lot and you don't think about it. You do a lot of stuff during the year. And then, like today's a perfect day. You just reflect on it and you say, you know what? Maybe I made a difference in the smallest way. And then people appreciate that. And it goes both ways. Like I said, this year wasn't my best year, working or personal. And I want to thank the people that got me through it. Um, because to me, people don't have to go out of your way for you. And there's a few people, Matt, Mitch, Tom, even my dad. My dad kind of went out of his way for me this year. And sometimes you don't say thank you enough, or I really appreciate what you did. And I'm telling you guys right now. Well, my dad's probably not going to watch this, but Matt and Mitch might stumble upon it, as might Tom and all my supporters. I mean, I could sit here. I'd be another 2 hours naming everybody's names: Casey, Emily, Dave, Connor, Sam, Marcus, Luke, and the list goes on and on. You guys check out my videos. You guys always have supported me. My man from, across the world, Kuvalutin, I think I said that right. I love that guy. That guy writes to me a whole bunch of times and he says, hey, and he's a cool dude. I just don't understand much he's saying, but I like the guy. He's one of the guys, too, that got me into this. Becca Lowe's, who's actually got me to do this. And I think I'm a better person because she told me not to be afraid and go with it. My wife, who is always supportive of what I do. Sometimes you don't say you appreciate these people being in your life enough. And they're the ones that make you better and better. And I mean that, Tom, Matt, Mitch. And I wanted to say thank you guys. And thank you for pointing me in the right direction. I know I'm not easy. I'm not easy to work with sometimes, and I know I'm not easy to deal with here. My wife puts up with me. and I'm growing up, and they don't tell you a roadmap for growing up. They just say, hey, go, do the best you can. Well, somehow you get lost. And it's people like that, the people that support me, the people I've named, that help you get through life. And that's the other thing. I mean, I go to work, and a job is a job for most people, but my job is like being around a big family, you know, and I appreciate them taking the time out to not only help me, guide me, but be there when I laugh, deal with me when I'm upset, and never giving up on me. And that's mainly what I wanted to say. The movie review was secondary. But, it's been a very life changing year. And it's for those people that I am a better person. And that's why I continue to have the drive that I do. Because in my life, I mean, I cannot thank you guys enough, really. I can't. My man Rob Flick, Jason Andriossi. I mean, these are people that really, really hold out their hand. And, I'm talking about everybody right now that hold out their hand and say, hey, look, dude, you're going to be all right. Just hell with it. Let's have fun. And these people make life so much more easier. So, on behalf of myself and my wife, I'd like to thank everybody that has helped me and everybody that has been really cool with me and everybody who's gotten to understand me. And my man Eric, I've been working with Eric for a while. Eric's a good dude. And Eric, I miss working with you. I'm going to be back in 2 days, but I miss working with you. And I'm glad that we work so well together, and that's on the real. Ralph, Bree, all the people in my company that are really cool. Everybody that's ever checked out my videos, I wanted to thank you because I'm going to keep rocking. But I just wanted to say something from the heart because sometimes I get caught up in talking about, movies or video games or some stupid thing. But that's on the real, you know. So I hope that you appreciate what I do as much as I appreciate what you guys do. Have a happy new year, and I'll see you next year.